Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Ksar Talk Show. Today is September 13th, Friday. Oh my God, today is 13th Friday, 2019, California time, 7 o'clock p.m. And I will be back in 3 minutes, okay? In 3 minutes, okay? What is this page? So, let's create. I be back in 3 minutes. Okay? another day, another XR talk show. And today we are going to talk about, I don't know, nobody's here. So let's see. Oh, 3 people are here. So comment, guys. Type your comment in the comment box, in the chat box. Okay. So what is today's topic? Now, if nobody is gonna say, then I'm gonna just going to do random. Okay. So today's topic, random. Okay. Random then. Now I want to show you some of the something I found. Okay. Xali keyboard blog. Oh my god, it's hot here. It's hot here. Xali keyboard blog, and you go there, and so today I was shopping for a hard disk. I don't have a backup, so I need backup. That's important. So I want to get a hard drive. So I've been doing some research on hard disk. It's hot here. So I'm doing some research on hard disk, and first of all, there's a question: are you going to get a flash drive, solid state drive, or hard disk drive, spinning hard disk drive? So the best 2 choices I found are these. Now this is one of the better ones, Samsung T5. You have 500 gigabyte, or you have 1 terabyte. Let's click on that. 1 terabyte. Okay, that's probably what you want, or 2 terabyte. So 500 gigabyte is $80. 1 terabyte is $160. 2 terabyte is $300. So they get expensive quickly, but this is a good one. From my research. So this is a flash drive, or external, using USB 3. And another one, this is supposed to be a good one, is a hard disk, spinning hard disk. And it's 2 terabyte is only $80. So if you are shopping for a hard disk, go to Xali keyboard blog and buy it from my website. Okay. Okay, let's talk about something about keyboard. Now, guys, comments. Okay, type in the chat box. Now it's hot here. I need to do something about it. The fan is not a solution, because I noticed every time I do that, you have this test. You have this, wind effect. That's why microphones, they have this foam that prevents these effect. I forgot what's the name. So this keyboard, this wobble board, is also pretty good if you are working on a standing desk. Okay, so basically you stand on this thing, and so that gives you some movement, things like that. It gives you some movement. Let's fucking show it, man. Where is it? Amazon choice. Okay, let's pick that. This is called wobble board. It's popular since maybe 10 years ago, and so you use a standing desk. It gives you some movement, which is, I think it's great. So wobble board. Let's go back to my keyboard blog. My god, it's really hot here. I need to open the window somewhere. So who is here? 5 watching. Say something, man. Pick a topic. Okay, pick a topic for today, and otherwise I'm just going to talk random. Say hi. Type something. So there is this keyboard. This is from the movie Tomorrow Never Dies, James Bond. So this movie is like 2005 or something like that, or even earlier. And they show these, this James Bond features, Chinese stuff. So you have this Bond girl who is a Chinese girl, and they show this keyboard, and that's silly, okay? Because you will not find a keyboard like that anywhere in China. First of all, in China, okay, that's an interesting topic about Chinese input system. In China, all the keyboard in China is the same as American keyboard. Just QWERTY. There's no Chinese characters on it. You use the input system, such as, let me show you some typing of Chinese. Okay, 中文. Okay, so 中文, 中文. So that means Chinese. 写中文. So let's type right in Chinese. Okay, 写中文. Okay, 写中文. Okay, that means write Chinese. So that's a Chinese input system. It's available on the Mac, on the Windows, and on Linux. And in fact, in Emacs, you can also do that. So, of you Emacs users, let me show you. Xali Emacs Chinese. Let's just search for Xali Chinese. Chinese input in Emacs, meaning that in Emacs you can have Chinese without any operating system input methods. For example, let's switch toggle input method. Okay, so let's open a new buffer, magnify, call toggle input method. Actually, what you should call is set input method. Okay, not toggle, because if you toggle, that won't work for you, because I have set my default input method to Chinese. So I can call toggle input method directly and I'll be in Chinese. But what you do is you call set input method. Okay, so call meta x. Let me show you. So all my commands you can see on the left window. So set input method. Okay, now Emacs will ask you to choose one. There are like 40 or 50 input methods in Emacs. So you say Chinese py. Okay, there are several, like 5 or 10 Chinese input methods. So you type Chinese py, that stands for Chinese pinyin. Okay, now let's type the same thing we typed here, Chinese, and write Chinese. Okay, so let's type that. Let's move this over here. So first of all, you have to pick the right character, to, then that, okay, that's right Chinese. You see, same thing as that. Now this is simplified character. Now, okay, now let's call meta x. Let's switch back, toggle input method. Okay, now I'm back in English. Okay, so that's about writing Chinese in Emacs. You can do that. It's kind of fun to try. Atesh, good morning, Atesh. Good morning to Chile. How are you doing today? So Atesh, pick a topic for us. We don't have a topic yet. Right now I'm just talking random. So we were talking about Chinese input method. Oh, and then let's go back to this keyboard. You see, in China, you don't have a keyboard like that. You don't have a keyboard label like that anywhere. In China, all keyboards are just the same, exactly the same as the English keyboard, American keyboard. But in Taiwan, you do have something like that. Every keyboard sold in Taiwan, you have something like this, but not like this. They also have English characters on it. For example, click here, then you will see they have 注音. Yeah, yes, indeed. So anyway, so here is this page talks about and gives you a overview of Chinese input method. That is how to type Chinese. In fact, you can try it. You can try it yourself on Windows, Mac. On Linux, you have to install some kind of input system, some bus that's complicated. But if you are on Linux, you can also try it by going to Google Gmail. Like if you use Gmail, you can just go to Gmail. I don't want to go to Gmail because it's going to show my emails. But anyway, you go to Gmail and there's a selection that lets you choose a Chinese input method. They also have Japanese input method and Korean input method or Arabic input methods. So okay, so this page is a kind of overview and tutorial about Chinese input methods. Like what is it? What types are there? What how many are there? What kind of are there? What do China use? I mean, and Taiwan, what do Taiwan use? Things like that. Hong Kong. So, for example, here is the Apple keyboard. Apple keyboard sold in Taiwan looks like this. Not in China though. Remember, every keyboard in China is exactly the same as American keyboard. Okay, so but in Taiwan, they do have these keyboard with these kind of labels. So anyway, this page tells you how what's it all about. So you can read that, and it gets complex. Basically, there are many types of Chinese input systems, but mostly they can be categorized into two categories. One is phonetic based, sound based. That is, when you want to type a character, you type how it sounds. Then you have a bunch of choices, like the Emacs we just demonstrated. That's a sound-based input system. Then another input system that require more learning is character-based system. That is, when you want to write Chinese, you know how the character is written. Like which stroke begin, or you know how it looks. So you take the character apart. So you enter certain keys that corresponds to the character. And this is more advanced, and typically this require learning, requires some memorization, and supposedly it's more efficient. Less keystrokes. That's character based. So attach text says like it. I like it. I'm also learning 注音. Okay, I already installed chewing in iBus. Okay, I don't know what system is chewing. I really like it. Okay, now 注音. Now, okay, so attach text. Are you Chinese blood? Like are you part Chinese or something? Uh, attach says what about explain JavaScript object and JavaScript OOP in depth? Okay, let's do that. Okay, let's do that. That's gonna be a kind of big topic. So let's do that right after we do this. After we explain this. Okay, so Chinese systems, Chinese input systems, there are quite a few. And okay, so you mentioned 注音. That is different from pinyin. So what are they? They are a phonetic system. They are a phonetic system for Chinese characters. That meaning phonetic system means you basically have alphabets or some characters that represents how a character sounds. That's what phonetic system means. So for Chinese, there are also quite a few phonetic systems, invented over the past 200 years. So the most popular and used internationally is called pinyin. This began around 1950s. Pinyin, and it uses English alphabet, Latin alphabet, like English alphabet, to represent the sound of Chinese characters, and which is in fact what I have been using. When I demonstrated that Emacs entering Chinese, that's using pinyin. And same thing over here. I was using pinyin. For example, pinyin in Chinese is like written like this. Okay, so you type PIN and YIN. Okay, that's a character number one. So you type one. That's pinyin. Okay, that's a English alphabet based phonetic system to represent Chinese character sounds. Okay, that's pinyin phonetic system. Now, 注音 ZHUYING, that's another system. And that system does not use English alphabet. That system uses kind of like Chinese characters. So it's rather more difficult. I mean, if you are not Chinese, it's more difficult to learn. That system is from it's mostly used in Taiwan. Okay, so for example, I have an article on that here. You see, all these topics are interesting because they involve writing systems. You know, the things I am fascinated by. They are about writing systems. They are about languages, linguistics. They are about symbology. You know, all these symbols. You know, including Latin alphabets. Those are symbols, and Unicode writing systems. So I have interest in these kind of things. So I studied a lot of them. So this page explains about Zhuyin, which is a phonetic system for Chinese characters, but the alphabet, the characters they use to represent sound are these. You see, you know, if you are not Chinese, these are incomprehensible to you. But anyway, you know, it just represents sound. And also remember IPA. IPA stands for International Phonetic Alphabet. It is designed in France. It is designed to represent sound of all human languages, at least in theory. Okay, to be possible to represent sound in all human languages. So in fact, I did a video, talk show on IPA. You can just go to YouTube and search Xali IPA. I think you'll find it. So IPA is a generalized phonetic system for any language. So on this page, I compare 注音, I compare the three systems. Pinyin system, the phonetic system based on Latin alphabet. 注音 system, and the IPA. So I have a table here. You can see on the left column, it's 注音. In the middle column, it's pinyin. It's all English letters. And on the okay, 注音 pinyin, and what about IPA? So okay, for IPA, you have to look at this chart. So the first row is IPA symbols, the second row is pinyin symbols, and the third row is 注音 symbols, and the last row is example characters with those pronunciation. So that's about that. For those of you interested in languages, stuff like that, you might be find it useful. Help, it's just it's like reading Wikipedia. It's not something you really need to know, because if you really need to know these things, you already know it. You need to type Chinese, you already know it. But as a academic exercise, as a philosopher, as a someone who is curious about all the things in the world, you might study them. So that's about that. That's about Chinese input methods, Chinese and phonetic systems. Okay, so let's move on to the JavaScript. Okay, so explain JavaScript object and OOP in depth. Okay, that's a big topic. I hope I will do well. I did this a few times in the past. So first of all, let's go to JavaScript, my JavaScript blog. Okay, so I did this a few times in the past, and it's kind of rambling, but I hope today we can do better. So here is my JavaScript in depth. it covers everything in detail. So you should read it after my video. JavaScript in depth. The difference between reading a book, like my tutorial, versus video is that video is much more friendly. Because you see, so this section in my tutorial, this section, JavaScript object and inheritance. All these sections are about the details of JavaScript object, the technical details, very precise and accurate technical details about JavaScript object and its inheritance system. You cannot talk about object without talking about inheritance because it's part of it. It's the same thing. So anyway, that's the textbook, so-called. That's my tutorial. You can read that. Very detailed, very concise, and very precise. You learn everything accurately. But it's less friendly than video presentation. Like when you have a lecture, someone teach you, you see the facial expressions, explanations or pause or struggles. You kind of get, you learn in a different way and a much more friendly way. Because when you read, reading is not a human, it's not a natural human ability. Reading and processing the information is kind of logic. It's a trained process. You go to school for 10 years, high school, after high school, then you know how to read. Most people, if you don't do that, you don't know how to read. But however, you can listen, you can watch people. That is the traditional, more primitive and almost more effective way of communication. So so I'm gonna teach you about JavaScript object. Okay, so I tried this a few times. Abdul, good morning. Have a great weekend. Does that mean you are going? Okay, so yeah, so let's start to talk about JavaScript. Okay, it's 30 minutes. Good morning, Abdul, to Egypt. So we are going to talk about JavaScript object. So first of all, yeah, so let me try to do this. First of all, the first most important thing you want to know, I'm going to give you a kind of more technical explanation about JavaScript object. Typically, you will not see my style of presentation in anywhere else. I know because I spent huge amount of time on JavaScript and I read all the other popular tutorials or books, including Microsoft's JavaScript tutorial, including I surveyed them all. So typically you don't see the style I do in those books. They talk about, well, anyway, let's just begin to let me show you the JavaScript object. When we do that, we also want to write it down because that way we have a good idea what we are talking. We're more organized. So first of all, understand JavaScript value types. Now JavaScript is not a typed language. But however, values has type. Variables do not have a type, but however, every value has a type. For example, 3 is a number. It's a number type. A string, something that's a string type. Okay, then you have object type. Then you have symbol type. So there are a few types. The one thing you want to begin to understand well is about all the types in JavaScript. So you go here, you go to JavaScript variables, then you see value types. That's the first thing you want to know. So JavaScript has these types 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, no more and no less. It has these 7 exact types. Okay, now remember this. Okay, this is because every value in JavaScript belongs to one of these 7 types. So this is so I'm giving you kind of a mathematical style of understanding JavaScript. Uh, right now, as opposed to how to or opposed, I'm giving you the structure, the fundamental structure, the mathematical structure of JavaScript. So remember, any value you see in JavaScript belongs to one of these 7 types. Now, okay, what are they? So there is undefined. They are undefined, null, boolean, string, number, symbol, and object. Okay. Now, undefined type. The only possible value for the undefined type is this undefined keyword. That is, you type the word undefined. That word is the only possible value for the undefined type. Okay, so does that make sense? Let's start to code. Okay, let's create a JavaScript. Okay, so for example, undefined. I You see, I even have a brief. Type U space, then you got undefined. That's a keyword. That's why it's green. Okay. So now let's say console log undefined. Oops. Okay, run it. So it prints undefined. Okay, so then you can also type. You can say type of. Type of is a operator that returns a string. The string will contain words that represent what type of the value is. So use type of to find out what is the value. For example, let's run it. So it returns undefined. Actually, it is a string, so we can check by doing that. You see, so we type of undefined triple equals to the string undefined. Run it. It says true. Okay, so that is how you find out what type something is. Okay, that's the code. Let's show in browser. That's kind of today's notes. Okay, let's go back. So undefined, the only possible value of that type is the keyword undefined. Now you have a null type. And it's the same thing. The only possible value for the null type is the null keyword. Okay, so what is undefined? Undefined is basically a function that does not have a return value. It returns undefined. Okay, a variable that is not assigned, it returns undefined. The default value is undefined. Is the word, is the keyword undefined. And null is kind of a mistake in JavaScript. Null does not have much use and meaning. It's kind of like undefined, but it's JavaScript, the language, has lots of historical bad design and baggage, because it's designed and implemented in 10 days, literally 10 days, design and implementation. So it got lots of problems. So for now, just remember that null is just the only type of null thing is the null keyword, and it's not really have a good definition, things like that. It's just null. Okay. Then you have the Boolean type, and there are only 2 possible values for the Boolean type. The keywords true and false. So when I say keyword here, I mean literal, like literal words. For example, let's do another JavaScript. So let's console log true. Okay, that's a keyword. Just the word true. It's by itself. So you can say type of true, and it says boolean. Okay, so now you do type of true equals the string boolean. Okay, it returns true. Now remember, the type of operator always returns a string. Okay, always returns a string. So let's copy that, close that, put it here, color it, show in browser. Okay, that's true and false. Okay, and at this rate we will not go anywhere. So it's too slow. So anyway, let me continue. So then you have string type. String type, as you know, is just a string. Okay, let's go faster. Number type is any number. Now JavaScript does not have float type, int type, long double. Doesn't nothing like that. In JavaScript, a number is just a number. Doesn't matter it's got a decimal place or not. It's integer, float. It's just number. Technically there's no differentiation. Okay, just number type. And number type, now this is important. There's a peculiarity here. Number type includes two special literal keywords. One is none, N-A-N, that stands for not a number. The other one is infinity. For example, let's try it. So let's show the number type. Okay, we gotta go faster because we haven't got into object yet. So let's see. So right now we want to none. Okay, we can run it. None, it's none, returns none. And infinity, if infinity is just return infinity. Those are keywords, and both of these are number type. Okay, so for example, let's now do type of okay, equals to number. Okay, this is going to return true. Okay, run it. You see, true and true here. You see, because none and infinity are just both considered to be numbers. So if you say type of 3, that is also true. Okay, let's remove that. So run it. True, all true. Let's say type 3.12345. Okay, that's also a number type. Okay, that's number type. Cut it, put it here, put there, and colorify. Okay, so number type. Now in JavaScript ES 2015, they introduced a new type. That type is called symbol. Now that's not that much used, and it's more involved to explain. So let's skip that because this is new in 2015, and it's not really that common. It's not that really commonly used. So let's skip that now for now. It's symbol type just means it's a symbol. Okay, it's kind of like string. You cannot do anything to it. I mean, it's like inert. It doesn't. It's not. It doesn't do anything. It just represents something. That's why it's called a symbol. It's supposed to be unique. The symbol type is it's created for the purpose of creating unique property names. Okay, that is basically the purpose why they introduced the symbol type. But it's kind of advanced, so you don't have to worry about it now. Now the last type, object type. This is the most important of them all in a sense, because everything else in JavaScript is a object. Now remember I said every value of JavaScript belongs to one of these types. So when you have any value, anything in JavaScript code, when you see it has a value, right? When you evaluate it, an expression or a function or whatever, it has a value. It must be one of these types. That's the value types. So this is important, remember. So when you want to understand JavaScript in depth, this is one of the important thing. You go by mathematically what there's a type concept. Value has types, so it must be one of these. Okay, so undefined null, we are kind of familiar. That happens in other languages too. Like in Python, you also have I forgot what's in Python. Undefined, I think. Sometimes nil, sometimes null in other languages. Boolean is also familiar. String, number, they are also familiar. Now symbol is rare. Now object, okay, object. Now everything in JavaScript. Now remember a function. What function in JavaScript is a value. It's a function expression. It has a value. It's a lambda. Okay. So function, what is the type? it's an object. Okay. Object. So anything else, if it's not a number, if it's not undefined null type, it's not any of the Boolean or string number, it's a object. So in practice, object includes array, function, date object, regular expression, syntax object, map object, everything else. It's all goes by the name object. Okay. Now, so this is important. So object type, object value type, the most important type of JavaScript. Okay. So function, array, date, hash table, or object, JSON, regular expression, they are all technically technically they are not. There's no function type, array type, date type. There's no such thing like that. Technically, they are all just one type, object. That's important. Okay, this is critical. Now, okay, so that's about types. Okay, that finishes one subject chapter. Now let me mention there are also the concept of primitive values, primitive type. So a primitive type. Now don't worry about primitive type. Basically, undefined null, true, false, any number or string, and symbol, they are called primitive types. So object is not primitive type. So that's just another jargon. Okay, primitive type and primitive values refers to any of these. These. So except object, everything else is a primitive type or primitive value. Okay. So anyway, so object. Now let's get on with object. Once you understand types, now let's get on with object. Now, but before we do that, there's another important and critical thing. Find the type of a value. Okay, this is critical. This is critical because there are many JavaScript words. That's why you have to know about this thing we are going to talk about. How do you find what are some of the exceptions about types? So let's go back to the types page, value types. Now these are the 7 types, right? So I'm kind of hot. Hold on a second. Let me read the comments. Okay, so Moonshine says, "Have you found many use of symbols?" Well, I explained symbols are mostly used as a unique ID for properties. Okay, so if you want to know about symbols, read this page. This is an introduction, a tutorial to JavaScript symbols. Okay, I explained in detail. But we need to go on talking about object today. So anyway, so these are the 7 types. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 types. Technical types. Now there are some quirks that's important to know. The type of operator. Now type, in order to find something, what type is a value, you use the type of operator. Type of operator always returns a string. Okay. But however, there are some quirks because when you here are some examples when you run type of operator on many different values. For example, type of undefined equals to undefined, the string. Type of a string ABC equals to the string. Type of true equals to the string Boolean, and so on. But however, there are some exceptions. Okay, let me tell you what are the exceptions. Now, this is a quirk, uh, quirk of JavaScript. It's a bug of JavaScript. Okay, that's why you have these problems. Uh, when you say type of null, according to the JavaScript spec, null, it belongs to the category of type of null. Null is the only value of that type. So when you say type null, it should, you would think it returns a string that says null, but that's not the case. When you say type null, it actually returns the string object. Why? Because it's a bug in JavaScript. Because JavaScript, someone has traced it to the bug. So if you look at this page, I explain it and follow this link. Now this guy, Dr. Axel Ramesmeyer, he is a expert in JavaScript. Okay, he has also written many JavaScript tutorials online, free. So his book is the one. I would say it's the one I respect the most of all the JavaScript books I know. I've surveyed, including Microsoft's JavaScript documentation, including Mozilla's Firefox JavaScript documentation online, including many. I've looked at them all. His book on JavaScript is the most detailed, and I respect. I recommend. Of course, I mean, if you are reading, if you are watching me, I would say, use my tutorial, because I have a different, um, style, of course, but his is very good as well. Okay, so I like his JavaScript books. He has several anyway. So anyway, he traced, the reason that type of null returns object is because in the C program that implements JavaScript, there's a bug. Basically the programmers, got it something wrong. So that is why. There's no logical good reason. So this is one of the problem. Type of null returns object. It should not. So whenever you try to, whenever you use type of to find some value, you want to make sure, you also want to check whether it's null, because this is a bug and it just stuck with us. It cannot be changed because JavaScript people, they don't want, because they want backward compatibility. So good morning, Seamus. Good morning, George. Do you know any prototype or language besides JavaScript? The only one I know is Self. Okay, let's focus. Let's go back to the object, JavaScript object. So that's today's topic. We need to focus on explaining JavaScript object system in depth. So okay, back to the type of. Type of is an operator that lets you find out what type of value that is. Now, there are some exceptions, bugs. One is null, type of null. We have explained already. Another exception is type of a function. When you have a function, and when you say type of, it returns function keyword, function. Okay, why? Because it's just a problem. It's just a bug in JavaScript. Like as we have seen before, there is no value type called function. It doesn't exist. But however, if you use type of operator on a function, it returns the string function. It's just the way it is. There's no good explanation. So that these are the JavaScript quirks, warts. That's you need to know when you do JavaScript. So for example, let me show you. Okay, so let's define a function. Let's say function ff. Let's say return x plus 1. Okay, now that's a function. Let's okay, and let's console log type of ff. Let's see what it says. You see, it says function. It says the function You see, it returns true. It returns the function string. Okay. So this is a JavaScript quirk. Okay, you just have to memorize it. That is all. But however, this is actually useful because oftentimes you do want to know if a function is a function, because otherwise, function, array, anything else, they are all object. But actually for programmers, you really want to know whether this is an array or a function. You don't want them both to be just object, even though mathematically that is what should be the case. So anyway, so type of, you use type of to find out what the value of a type of a value. And remember, there are two exceptions, quirks. One is type of null and one is type of function. Okay, so that's about types. That's done. We are done with about types in JavaScript. Now we can start to talk about JavaScript objects, the JavaScript object system in depth. Okay, so you look at this section, object overview. Okay, instead of reading it, let me just show you offhand. That way is better. Because you can go back to read them afterwards. So now let's talk about objects in JavaScript. What is object in JavaScript? So JavaScript object is a collection is a collection of key value pairs. Okay, is a basically unordered. So actually it's several things. Let me write it down. So it's a collection of key value pairs, and each object has a parent, may have a parent, may point to another object called its parent object, also known as its prototype object. Okay, forget about the word prototype because that was kind of confusing because there is also a property, a built-in property named prototype. It's kind of confusing. Just remember, first of all, what is JavaScript object? First of all, it's a type. Remember, it's one of the type in JavaScript. Okay, but give us more description, like what exactly object do. Like a string, a string is a sequence of characters. A string is a type in JavaScript. But what is it? Okay, it's a string. Basically, it's a sequence of characters. A number is a type in JavaScript. But what is it? Okay, number, well, it's a math idea. It represents a number, right? So object is a type in JavaScript. But what exactly is it? Okay, now this is what they are. So a object, first of all, it's a key value pairs. It's a collection of key value pairs. Whenever that happens, you call it an object. So every object, now remember, this is important. Doesn't matter what people say. Like in other programming tutorials, you'll have patterns, factory pattern, OOP pattern. Those are kind of all fuzzy. But what I'm doing here is kind of giving you kind of a mathematical definition style of understanding JavaScript object. So first of all, we understand the types, the types in JavaScript values. Now, so object. Now, so any object, when you see anything that has key value pairs, that's object, okay, in JavaScript. So first of all, JavaScript object is a collection of key value pairs, and each object may or may not. Okay, it may be associated with another object, and that one is called its parent. Okay, so one object may have a parent, and this object may have another parent. Only one parent. Okay. However, not it may not have any parent. So an object may not have any parent at all. So that's the thing. So key value pairs, an object may have another object as its parent. Now we are going to explain what's the mechanism, like how does JavaScript, how do you find out what's the parent, or what's the mechanism that links one object to another as parent child. That we're gonna talk about that later. Uh, let me type it out. So we're gonna show those how to find a object's parent. Now, by the way, object's parents, I call it parent because it's much easier to understand. But in other books, typically they call it prototype. So you say object may have a prototype. Okay, prototype is just a parent. Okay, so far two things: collection key value pairs and may have a parent. Okay, another thing. Okay, another thing. A object may have special purpose or associated with it some special data. Okay, what does that mean? For example, a function in JavaScript is an object. We have shown that before, right? Yeah, function. Function. Okay, let me finish this thought first. So a object may have a special purpose or associated with some special data. For example, function is a object, but it can also be called like a function. You know what function is. So function in JavaScript is a object, but however, it's also a function. You can call it. That's what you do. That's how you compute stuff. That's function. So function is kind of a special object. So it has a special purpose. It has a associated data with it. Because why? Because you have a function body. A function body is not key value pairs, right? But however, because function is also an object, therefore it is also a collection of key value pairs. Now this may be counterintuitive, but let me show you. Okay, let me show you. And let me also explain. For example, array. Remember, array in JavaScript is also an object because remember we talked about JavaScript types. There is no type called array. Any value type is either one of these or object. There's no such thing as array type. There's no such thing as function type. So they are just object. So the array object is a key value pairs, but it has kind of special properties. It has some special things with it. So that's the thing about JavaScript object. So that captures the JavaScript object. Okay, first of all, it's collection of key value pairs. Then each object may have a parent. Okay, so you have it forms a tree. Kind of a tree of parents, parent, child, and then a object may have a special purpose or associated with some special data. Sometimes it's internal, you cannot see it. I'm going to show you examples later, but for example of a function, the function body, if you define your own function, the function body is a spatial data. It's not part of a key value pairs, right? So anyway, so let me show you function. Okay, so back here, let's define a function. Let's same thing as before. Let's just say return 3, and let's call it ff. Let's call it run it. It returns 3. Okay, it's a function. Now, as we mentioned before, a function is a object. But because every object is a collection of key value pairs, therefore a function is also key value pairs. For example, we can begin to add properties to it. For example, AA equals to 4, let's say, and let's say BB equals to 5. Okay, run it. It runs fine, and let's print FF. You see, so here is the printout. It's first of all it says function, with a square bracket. It means it's some kind of a special object. Then it says AA is 4, BB is 5. Those are its properties. So you see, a function is actually just like every object. It has key value pairs. I mean, in the case of function, you can add key value pairs if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. By default, it doesn't have. So does that make sense, everyone? So far so good. Especially attach. Does that make sense? Like, give me some feedback. Okay? So if it's good, say good. Okay, type like good. So I get some. So it's good for me. I keep going. So George says, good morning, George. Press Alt F4. That's closing Windows. What do you mean? Okay, it's hot here. Okay, good. So let's keep going. So let's continue with this. So function, here is an example where we add stuff. Now let me show you another example, array. Okay, for example, array constant arrow function. So constant, let's say AA equals to array. Now I assume you guys already know the basics, right? So I don't have to explain the array and functions, of course. So here we have array, and we console log type of AA. Okay, let's see what it says. It says object, correct, because array is object. Now, if you truly want to find out if this is a true array value, you can use is array. Okay, I think. Okay, so okay, so hold on a second. Array is array. Okay, yeah, that. So that's a function. AA. So this function array is array that will return true if the value is actually a true array, not just a object. Okay. So if we run that, it says true. That's how you find if an array is a true array. Now there's another quirk about JavaScript is that you could have a array-like object. Let's not go there. But anyway, this function array is array. It returns true if something is true array. Okay. So that's an example. Oh wait, hold on. So now remember, array is just an object, meaning that it's key value pairs. So in fact, in JavaScript, array, those indexes of array are actually keys of the object, and the array values are actually just values to the key. For example, let me show you. For example, let's print all the properties of a object. So how do you do that? Let's go here, close that. Let's go here. Let's go to properties section, JavaScript object properties, and let's see list properties. So this page shows you all possible ways to get a list of a object's property. Okay, all of them, all the possible ways. So one of the ways is we want to use include string key, include enumerate, reflect on keys. Let's use reflect on keys. Okay, reflect on keys. Okay, that's a function, and let's put AA here, and let's say console log put it here, print it, run it. So you see, when this prints all the properties, all the keys of a object. So we give the object AA, which is an array, and it prints these, 0, 1, 2, length. Those are the keys, the properties of this array object. And so you can see here, you see those 0, 1, and length, they are actually, they are array indexes. And length is a special property of array. It's built in. It's a magical property. It shows how many elements in the array. It's magical because whenever you change the array length, the value of the key length also changes automatically. So in that way, it's magical. So anyway, so you see here that these are the keys of the array. So this is a demonstration showing that array is actually just a object. It's actually just key value pairs. It so happens that in JavaScript, you think of it as a array, but in some technical sense, it's not just an array. It's actually key value pairs. So this array is actually, for example, it's actually like this. Okay, 3, 4, 5. It's actually like this. Uh, so you get what I'm saying. So array, although the syntax array looks like that, but it's actually a object. It's more like that. It's a object key. Here's a key. Here's a value. Key value. Key value. And key value. This value is some kind of it's so-called anyway. It's just a magical method. Okay. Yes, it's kind of syntax sugar, but it's not exactly a syntax sugar because rather let's just say JavaScript is designed and implemented in 10 days, so it's got lots of weird problems rather. So it's not exactly a syntax sugar. Rather, it's just the way it is. It's bad design. You have a lot bad designs in JavaScript. So anyway, so yeah, but you can think of it as a syntax sugar. Um, yeah. So there are many details about it, but I'm skipping it because, for example, if you want to understand JavaScript array, then you can go, after you understand object and inheritance, then there's a section on array. Then you started to see all the detailed problems and details, but you understand it, then you start to understand it in depth. Okay, so I'm skipping many of the little details. So let me read the comments. Oh, I see. So, yeah. So, greetings to all brethren, schizoid worldwide, burial, salute. Um, okay. So we covered function and we covered array as objects. Why are we talking about function and array? Because I'm trying to emphasize the idea about the types of value in JavaScript. As we see, array is one of the important type. There is no such thing as an array type or function type. But however, the array in JavaScript and function in JavaScript, they are actually technically they are supposed to be the object type. And I'm trying to show you what makes a object. It's a collection. It's a collection of key value pairs, and each object may have a parent. Okay, and some object, usually object has some kind of a special purpose or property. That is why I am demonstrating array, function and array. I'm trying to show function and array, they are just object. But however, you see, I showed that they are, key value pairs. I also showed okay, they have parents. I haven't showed that yet. I'll show that later, okay? They have parents. But I also showed that in the case of array and function in JavaScript, they are like object, but however they do have a special purpose and some kind of magical internal data, such as the length property in the array. So anyway, so that's almost all about object. Now this is about object. So now let's go back to the object. Let's see. There's another thing I should mention. So here's a summary of JavaScript object. One object is a collection of key value pairs. Each key value pair is called property, right? Two, most objects have special purpose and internal data. For example, function object is a function. Array object has a magical length property. Regular expression object is used to match string pattern. Data objects holds datetime data. Yeah. And the one object that does not have any special purpose is the data object key value. So this is the most, when people say JavaScript object, they are thinking of this. This is the most common object. They don't actually have a standard name, but I think the JavaScript spec refer to them or sometimes call them data object. They don't. JavaScript is so bad a language. All the terminology is very confusing. It's not well defined. But anyway, when we talk about object, most people think of these. You just use curly bracket and then inside it key value pairs. That's what you use. That represent data object. That's the most common object. And this value, of course, is of type object. So okay, most object has special purpose. Then three, each object has 0 or 1 parent object called its prototype. Okay, and when a property is accessed, JavaScript will go up the parent object or parent of parent object to look for the property. This is called inheritance. Okay. Now, this is important because this is the whole purpose of having a parent. Now, let me try to explain this one. So, object has a parent, usually have a parent, okay? Now, the question is, what's a parent for? Why do you need a parent? I mean, okay, why do you need it? The purpose, the sole, the only purpose, nothing else, okay? The only purpose a object having a parent is that when JavaScript looks up a object's property value, it will try to find the property in the object. However, if the object does not have that property, remember object is a key value pair. So if the object does not have that key, then JavaScript will try to find the key in the parent object. Okay, you'll try to find it. If it exists, then it'll show that value. If it does not exist, then it will try to find that object's parent's object to find if the key exists in that object, and so on until you reach the root parent. There's no more parent. Then if none of those parent object has the key, then it returns undefined, meaning that the object does not have that key. Now this is critical. This kind of looking at parents, looking for the key in the parent and in the parent, this is called inheritance. Okay, this is the only meaning of inheritance, and this applies only when you are looking up a value of a property key. not when you are writing a value or creating a property key. It happens only when you try to find the value of a key. So does that make sense? So if so, say yes. Okay, let me show you an example. So that's the concept of inheritance. We just actually covered that. That's critically important. That's the only purpose of having a parent. So let me repeat this again. Then I'm gonna show an example. The only purpose of object having parent is that when JavaScript, when you type, for example, let's define it. Let's create a object. Okay, constant xx. Okay, let's say object. Okay, let's say k1 is 1. Okay, let's say k2 is 2. Okay, that's a object. Console log xx, let's say obj. Okay, obj. Okay, so console log, run it. You see, it returns the object with 2 keys. So we can also now print all the keys of the object. So we have used reflect on properties, reflect on keys. Okay, so we are going to print all the keys of this object. So reflect on keys obj. Let's see. Okay, it returns an array. You got 2 keys, k1 and k2. Those are the keys of the object. Remember, object is key value pairs. That's one of the most important definition of object. And this object is the most common object. We call it data object, user created data object. Okay, so we have showed an object and we have showed the keys. Now let's do good morning, Tony. Now let's do okay, so okay, so let's do this. Okay, cut, paste, make it. Let's create a new one. Let's do another thing. Okay. Now let's console log object k1. Okay. Now what we do is that we are trying to look up the value for k1. Now this is the dot notation for accessing property keys. So the object is obj. Let's rename it xx. Okay. So the object is xx. The property key we want is k1, and let's see what's the value. So it says 1. Good, that's correct. What if we say key k3? That doesn't exist, right? Let's run it. So it returns undefined. Now remember, undefined is one of the value type. Okay, so it returns undefined. Okay, now let us create a object whose parent is xx. Okay, so now let's create 2 objects. One is parent, one is child. Now the parent will have key k3. The child does not. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so let's do that. So x1, let's name it x1 and x2. So x1, okay, x1 is an object of 1 key k3, and it has a value of 3. Okay. Now x2 is an object. It has 2 keys, k1 and k2. Okay. Now we want to make x1 to be the parent of x2. So how do you do that? Go to JavaScript in depth, object and inheritance section, get set parent. Now this page shows you all possible ways to find a object's parents or set a object's parents. Okay, so here is a function we can use to set a object's parents. So we're gonna call that reflect set prototype of. So the first argument is the object we want to set, and the second argument is the parents. Okay, we just run that. Okay, now let's run it. Okay, once we make the parents, once we set the parent of x2 to be x1, then now we access the key k3, k3 in x2. Now remember, x2 does not have the key k3, right? Because you see it's not there. But however, its parent has it. So let's try to access, k3, x2.k3. Let's see what happens. Let's run it. It returns 3. You see why? Because it actually look up, it goes up the parent and found it for us. Good morning, test. Okay, so that's about, this is about inheritance. Inheritance. Okay, TANCE. Okay, when JavaScript look up a property value, it tries to go up the parent chain. Okay, that is what happens. So close that, create our nodes here. So this is what we've just done. Okay, so great, thank you, Atesh. So let's continue on. So this is about inheritance. Now remember, this is all there it is about the word inheritance. That's all it means. When JavaScript, when you try to access when you try to find the value of a key of some object, JavaScript will try to find it in the parents. Now that is the only meaning of inheritance. Don't be confused by any other talk. Also JavaScript OOP is entirely different from the one in Java and Python. So don't be confused. Okay, if you came from Python or Java, they are 100% completely, totally different. No similarity whatsoever. Okay. In Java you have class, in Python you have class, Java, Python you have class, then you have object. Okay, JavaScript is entirely different. In Python or Java you create a class, okay, then you instantiate, then you create an object out of some class. In JavaScript there's no such thing. This doesn't exist. It is 100% entirely different. Okay, remember that. And in fact, we have already completely explained what object is in JavaScript. You see, remember it's key value pair. Remember it may have a parent. Remember that it may behave in a may have internal data or special purpose. That's all there it is about JavaScript object. It is not, so as an example, it is not some instantiation from some class. It's nothing like that. We already 100% mathematically defined and explained what JavaScript object is. Okay. We already covered. So let me repeat the summary here. 1, 2, 3 we covered. Now the number 4, each object has a special info attached called is extensible internal slot. It specifies whether new properties can be added to the object. Okay, this is less important. Now remember, JavaScript object is key value pairs, right? Collection of key value pairs. Now you can make an object so that it will not be possible to add more keys to it. You can do that, and that is and the way, the mechanism for that to work is because each object has a special info called is extensible. I mean, there are functions you can call some functions so that you can no longer add properties to an object. So anyway, that's not as important as the other 3 we talked about. And yeah, basically we already talked about the most important thing, the top three. The other thing I'm mentioning here is, it's useful to distinguish objects by their origin. For example, standard object, hosted object, user-defined object. We have seen user-defined object, like when we create a function, when we create a array, when we create, our, this data object, that's user-defined object. But standard object came from JavaScript language itself, such as this function, this reflect. That's built in JavaScript. That's also an object. And this set prototype of, that's one of its property. One of its key. Remember, JavaScript is about a collection of key value pairs. So if you say reflect is object, it must have key value pairs. Indeed, set prototype of is one of its key, and the value of this key is actually a function. So that's why this thing is a function. We can call it and use it. So anyway, that is about object. The three most important thing, key value pairs may have a parent and may have special purpose or internal data. That is all about JavaScript object in a technical sense. Okay, I think let's take a break. Let's see how long I've been talking. Oh, 90 minutes. Almost. That's almost a good stop. There are quite a lot practical things. Like I haven't showed much code. For example, let me go over some of the topics. For example, so now you understand JavaScript object in a mathematical sense. Now there are different object types. Now remember we talked about value types, and all these are objects: functions, array, date, regular expression, JSON, math. They are all objects. So this page I discuss, how do you find out like which type of object are they? Now in practice, in real life, this is important because you want to know a function is, you want to know something is a function or array or date. You don't want all of them to be just object. Even though technically that's what JavaScript types are. They are just type object. But in practice, in daily coding, you want to be able to find out. So here's some techniques you can. I show you some techniques about that object type. Find objects type. Okay, here. And about the prototype chain, we actually just explained. The parent. Why you need a parent? Things like that. Prototype chain. What's the purpose of parent? And as we know, the entire sole purpose is about when you look up a key's value, it goes up the parent, and the whole thing is called inheritance. Okay. Then we have some practical things. This page is all possible ways to create an object. You can do by literal expression. You can use the function object create. You can use the keyword new. Those are different ways to create object. The end result is the same. You just create a new object. Okay, but you have different ways. And object literal expression here. When we do that, that syntax is called object literal expression. It's the most common way to create a object. Okay, and then you have how do you create an object with a particular parent? I show you how here. For example, you can use object create, or you can use new something. It's more complex, but I show here. Or you can use a new keyword called class. Now in JavaScript 2015, you have a new keyword called class. Now don't be confused with this class. with the Java or Python's class. Like I said before, they are entirely different things. But people try to make them similar, but don't think don't think of it that way, because that way you got more confusion. But anyway, this page explains how do you create an object with a parent, with a specific parent. But you can also just create an object first, then set a parent. So this page shows you all the ways, and also how do you find out a parent of some object. And show prototype chain or show parent chain, prevent adding property, clone object, test object equality. Those are some other practical details you can read. But the main thing, the mathematical, like under the mathematical structure we already covered. That is, what is object, key value pairs, parents, and so on. And I hope that gives you a different and deep understanding of JavaScript. That's my hope. So attach says, so if you modify a children of a parent value, if you modify in a children a parent value, you actually are modifying the value in the parent. No, depending on what you mean. So all the children of their parent will get the same change. Well, let's see. If you modify in a child of a parent value, I'm not sure what you mean though. Attach. So for example, let me show you an example. I don't know if that's what you mean. Good morning. Good morning, WebDog. So attach. So we have this example, right? X1 is K3. I mean, X1 is a object. It has one key, K3. X2 is another object. It has two keys, K1 and K2. Okay. Then we make X1 to be the parent of X2. Then we show the property K3 in X2. X2 doesn't have K3, so it came from X1. So the result is 3. Okay. Now, if you modify X1 K3, now remember we are modifying the parent. X1 K3 equals to 4. Okay. Then you do this. Then you do the console log again. X2 dot K3. It will say 4. So is that what you mean? So what we demonstrated here is that we change the parent's key. We change the parent's value of a key. We changed one of the parent's keys value. But we are trying to get a key from X2. Now X2 does not have key 3. So key 3 came from the parent. So that's how it works. So I don't know if that answers your question. Now remember, this looking up the keys from the parent only happens when you are trying to look up the keys value. It does not happen when you try to assign it. Now this is important. Okay. So for example, if you say x2 dot k3 equals to 5, okay, what will happen is that JavaScript will, right. So when you do this, JavaScript will check if K3 is in X2. Now it's not. So it will just create a new K3 in X2. Okay, let's try it. So we run it. It runs. Okay, now let's do this again. K2 dot X2 dot K3. Okay, let's run it. You see the result is 5 now, because and also you can show the properties. Let's see, reflect of key, reflect on keys that show all the keys of your object. Let's say x2. Okay. Okay. Oh, console log. Okay, console log that. You see now the x2 object has three keys: k1, k2, k3. It no longer use the parent's k3 value because it has k3 itself. Okay, I think that's it for today. And so we got a draw here. That's good. Okay, so I think that's it for today. So we're gonna shut down in 2 minutes or so. Thank you for coming by to my show. Any questions, guys? WebDog, how's going? Now I think WebDog is a expert in JavaScript, or WebDog knows a lot. I want to hear your opinion on the simulation argument. That's a philosophy. I think today is too late for that because it's it's 100 minutes. Hold on a second, I'm pretty hot. Let me fan a little bit. Oh, so WebDog says. WebDog says. Hold on. So let me put this here. Um, um, so about the simulation question, that's kind of philosophy and pretty involved, but let's not do it today because I'm kind of tired, and so yeah, let's talk about that. Maybe tomorrow. Next time you come by WebDoc, so post that, and let's talk about that. That's interesting. I'm yeah, let's talk about that. So Tony says, thanks for show, Ksa. Your website has helped me great. Thank you. And with Emacs. Thank you, Tony. Yep. See you guys. Thanks. Bye.